Welcome to CBC Windsor News at 6. I'm Meg Roberts. Thanks so much for spending part of your evening with us tonight. Well, there's complaints over loud construction noises, with some residents saying the conditions are unlivable. Plus, there's a new warming center for women and families this winter as the population of women experiencing homelessness grows. And a long-standing squash club is shutting its doors at the end of the month. We have reaction to that tonight. Noisy construction at a downtown seniors building has residents saying it's become unlivable at times. They want things to change before construction resumes again in the spring. Jacob Barker has more.
That's the sound residents here say is happening far too often. The building at 255 Riverside Drive is undergoing a retrofit to modernize the high-rise and make it more energy efficient. But resident Wayne Craig says the noisy and constant drilling makes it impossible to hear his TV.
And that's the sound. And that goes on and on and on and on, all day, every day, for the last 4 or 5 months.
The building houses seniors in units that are subsidized and geared to income. Craig says they have nowhere to go in the daytime and that getting proper rest is important.
We don't need this 7 days. We need 5 days. And then on the weekends, we can recover. We're senior citizens.
Barry Whelan says the noise gets so bad at times, he needs to leave.
I go to the local library. I actually go to the casino, and I'll spend time there, people watching.
Whelan has a heart condition and says getting rest, even in the daytime, is important.
Social housing, it's a class that we've earned that we just don't have the rights that regular tenants would have.
The Windsor-Essex Community Housing Corporation says in general they work between 8 a.m. and 6 p.m. on weekdays, and that permission is needed to work outside of those hours or on weekends.
If contractors are available and we're trying to get caught up on a schedule, we may have to work that overtime to keep the schedule. If they work beyond that, they usually have to get permission from us, and then we do work within the city noise bylaws.
CBC asked how often they might work outside of normal hours, and a spokesperson hasn't responded to that request. Belanger says that balcony construction in general is a very loud process, but they do have some rooms on other floors for tenants to go to if they need to get away, and there are social workers that can find solutions for those with special needs.
We've put forth solutions sometimes. There's a certain amount of understanding that you have to have that noise to do construction. You can't finish this job without that.
Work on the building is supposed to be winding down for the winter, but it is set to resume again in the spring. Belanger says that some noise can be expected in the spring when they plan to install insulation. Jacob Barker, CBC News, Windsor.
The Welcome Center shelter will be providing a warming space for women and families this winter. It will offer overnight beds for up to 15 individuals as the rate of homelessness grows. Some are calling it good news, but as the CBC's TJ Deer explains, it's only a start at addressing the issue.
With the holidays approaching and the temperature dropping, the Welcome Center is opening its lobby to help women stay the night. The warming space is funded in part by the city and the province. The space opened on Monday, but even though only 2 women used the space that night, the center's executive director says the wider reception so far has been good.
We just did the announcement yesterday, which was largely via our social media. And as of this morning, I think we were already at, 300 plus likes to it, tons of comments, lots of well wishes.
Self-identifying women can stay the night between 10 p.m. and 7 a.m. As part of the space, clients will receive mats and blankets to help them stay warm while they get a good night's sleep. There's also a TV if someone wants to stay up. Breakfast is also offered at 6:30 a.m. Lafferty says the demand for space at shelters like theirs is increasing because of bigger problems like the country's housing crisis and high cost of living.
We're seeing multiple women who are new to us and new to the community who are coming in for the first time, oftentimes saying things like, perhaps I was evicted and I thought I would find a place in time and I didn't. Or we're seeing a lot of women who might be street entrenched, who are already familiar with the system.
Another option for housing the city's homeless used to be street help. The administrator says while it's a good thing that women have additional spaces to sleep, men also need other options.
I don't believe in this segregation based on genders. It doesn't make any sense to me. A person who could freeze to death, male or female, should be allowed in.
While Wilson Furlonger, who advocates for homeless people in Windsor, understands that the Welcome Center is for women only, she wants another organization to step up and help the men out.
My heart breaks for all of them because there's so many people that come here every day and they're really good people. You get to sit down and start talking to folks and you start realizing they are really your brothers and sisters in this community.
Okay. Nice.
As the weather gets colder, both centers are asking for items to help their clients stay warm. The Welcome Center is asking for clothing donations, such as hats, gloves, and scarves, and Street Help is asking for financial assistance and a nearby space for their clients to hang out and possibly lay their head down at night. TJ Deere, CBC News, Windsor.
Nextar Energy says construction of its EV battery plant here in Windsor is now about 30% complete. The company says the work done so far was performed by a 100% Canadian crew of 950 craft workers. Nextar Energy is a partnership between Stellantis and the South Korean company LG Energy Solution. The plant will create more than 2,500 new Canadian jobs. Recently, Nextar Energy faced a major pushback over plans to use foreign workers. The company said it will bring as many as 900 workers from South Korea to Windsor to help set up the electric vehicle battery plant. It sparked some political backlash because of the government subsidies the plant received. Nextar says the project remains on track. The first phase of operations is the battery module production, and that's set to begin in the first half of 2024. Windsor is set to become a big player in the electric vehicle industry with billions of dollars in investment locally. There's questions about what will happen to the internal combustion passenger vehicles. Today, the federal government rolled out new regulations to end the sale of those vehicles. CBC's David Thurton has the details.
Chris McDermott loves driving his electric vehicle, as long as it's in Quebec.
We're not ready for the transition because the charging infrastructure in certain provinces, Quebec's there, but in certain provinces like Ontario, it's not there.
But it will need to be soon. The federal government is going all in on EVs.
There's no mistaking it. We are at a tipping point.
Ottawa says it has finalized regulations to push manufacturers to make fewer gas guzzlers and more battery-powered motors.
The government of Canada is helping to ensure we don't get left behind.
The new rules apply to new cars, SUVs, and light trucks, but not used ones. Plug-in gas hybrids will qualify, but the deadline for automakers is strict. In 2026, 1 in 5 vehicles sold in Canada must be electric. In 2030, that's 3 in 5. By 2035, all new stock at dealerships must be electric. But some worry they will be financially out of reach for many.
What we found is that vehicle prices would need to come down by about a third or even half of what they are today in order to be for electric vehicles to be affordable at the very mass market level.
Ottawa and some provincial governments offer purchase incentives. For those that don't, the Environment Minister had a message.
Get on board. That would be my message. I mean, especially in Ontario.
Automakers will need to earn credits to comply with the new rules. That can be done by building charging infrastructure. But the big 3 car makers have some concerns.
There's only 345,000 electric vehicles on the roads today. That is not enough volume to make a charging station a profitable business.
This driver says charging needs to be a political priority.
What needs to be done was what Quebec did starting 10 years ago, was get the charging infrastructure in place.
He says setting EV targets without a reliable way to power them is like putting the cart before the horse. David Thurton, CBC News, Ottawa.
It's been open for 50 years. Now the Windsor Squash and Fitness Club will close its doors at the end of the month as the club prepares to sell its equipment. It's also inviting members to come by to reminisce about the memories they've made over the years.
My family's been here since forever. Like my grandpa won the men's B championship in like '96 in one of the tournaments, and my dad's been playing all his life, and I've been here since I was in diapers basically. My dad's taken me here. My parents actually met here, so it's a huge part of my life.
We've had a very rough several years. COVID, with the forced closures for approximately 2 years, brought our membership down to almost zero. We had to rebuild all of that when COVID was over and we were allowed to reopen the doors of the facility. Unfortunately, what happened during COVID is a lot of people chose other ways to exercise. Some people got home gyms, some people went online for training, some people went to things that were outdoor like pickleball or cycling. And as much as we've had some recovery of our memberships, we're still not at a point where we've got as many memberships as we had before COVID, and it's just not profitable. It almost feels like a funeral. You feel like you're losing a family member, but all of us here, I think, are trying to think of it as more of a celebration of those 30 years of very good times that we had with families and friends, and those memories will sort of linger and go on. And I'm hoping perhaps even some of our younger people down the road, remembering how good it was to have that squash and fitness facility, maybe they'll start something new themselves. But it's time for new energy and somebody else to pick up the ball.
The Ottawa Senators have fired head coach DJ Smith amid yet another losing season in the nation's capital. The 46-year-old is from Windsor, played for the Windsor Spitfires, and went on to coach the team for several years before rising to the NHL. The Senators made the announcement this week, a day after Ottawa lost its fourth straight game with a 6-3 defeat to the Vegas Golden Knights on Sunday. The Senators have missed the playoffs for 4 straight seasons under Smith. Smith was hired by the Ottawa Senators in May 2019. He is the 4th NHL head coach to be fired this season. The inflation rate held steady at 3.1% last month. That's according to the latest data released today by Statistics Canada. The CBC's Anis Hadari has more.
That grocery bill is still going up, but not as fast as it was. Inflation is easing up when it comes to food, 4.7% higher this November compared to last year. The 5th month in a row, that rate has dropped. But not everything is slowing down. The price of meat, it went up faster than in earlier months. And that speed, the rate of food inflation, might be lower in 2024.
They will likely slow more as the year progresses, and one of the factors there is that transportation costs are falling now that we've seen a drop in gasoline prices, and that's a key, and even diesel prices for trucks.
One thing that is sky high, so to speak, travel costs. Tours went up more than 26% in November compared to last year. That could be a sign of economic strength.
It definitely signals where people want to put their money towards, and that's discretionary spending. And typically when you are in periods where you're facing household financial stress, that's the first thing people let go, is the recreational spending.
When it comes to goods, the stuff Canadians buy, inflation fell a bit. But services, no slowdown there. It was flat. And that matched the overall inflation rate too. At 3.1%, inflation in November was the same as in October. And while many economists were expecting it to drop, there are still predictions that interest rate cuts are coming next year. Anis Hadari, CBC News, Calgary.
An employee of South Korean automaker Kia is going public, revealing a controversial sales tactic that's being used at some dealerships. The practice allegedly involves the company withholding vehicles from customers who are waiting for them. Erica Johnson has the story.
He's worked for Kia for several years, wanted to go public about his concerns, but he's also concerned about keeping his job, so we're not identifying him. He says he couldn't believe a scheme hatched by Kia Canada. Someone else is reading his words.
I've been in the industry long enough to possibly understand, and I don't anymore.
The plan for the rest of the year, keep new Kia vehicles in storage on car compounds that manufacturers use, like this. Only release some, even though many customers have waited well over a year for their vehicles. The strategy was delivered by Kia Canada's Central Region Manager on behalf of top Kia executives in a video call to dozens of dealer reps in Ontario last month, and allegedly affects the whole country. An employee recorded the meeting.
With the global slowdown, Kia Canada wants to control wholesale and retail performance in 2023 to not show high overachievement.
The manager says there's a high risk with overperformance, selling too many vehicles, that headquarters in Korea will withhold the extra marketing budget Kia Canada wants next year.
But let's be very, very clear. This is a message that comes from Kia Canada.
The chat box fills up with comments by frustrated Kia employees. This shows a complete lack of respect for every dealer in Canada and our customers, writes one person. How to sell the bad news to customers who put down deposits? They're told to blame logistical issues.
Mr. Customer, we just been informed by Kia Canada there's going to be some shipping delays for the balance of the year.
This expert says all car manufacturers use sales schemes, but calls this one unusual.
It is normal for automakers to use creative strategies at the very end of a year. However, usually those strategies are to help increase sales, not reduce them.
And in this case, he says, it's the customer who pays.
It's not right to make customers wait even longer when they've already been waiting for so long and dealing with quite a bit of frustration.
Kia Canada wouldn't give Go Public an interview or discuss the video, saying it couldn't comment on what it called internal confidential business matters. Keep in mind that Kia has some of the longest wait times in the industry, so even after these vehicles are released from compound, there will still be a backlog for many customers who put down deposits months ago. Erica Johnson, CBC News, Vancouver.
Beautiful look there at downtown Windsor, your weather forecast, and a punny Chatham story coming up after the break. Joining us again for a look at the weather forecast is Josiah Sinanen. He will be filling in for Colette for the next month or so while she is off. Josiah, these are the winter days I don't mind because lots of sun.
Yeah, Meg, gorgeous day today, lots of sunshine. And our listeners, our viewers might remember last December, we had about 3 weeks of full cloud cover. So that sunshine is a great mood booster for us this week. Let's look ahead on our 5-day forecast right now. Right now, we're sitting around 1 degree with some clouds, and tonight that will drop down to a low of -3. Tomorrow's high, 3 degrees, and that sunshine on us again. Thursday, we will have cloud cover and a high of 2. And then things start to warm up as we inch closer and closer to Christmas Day. I know a lot of you are counting that down. Friday, high of 4 and sunny. And then Saturday, a high of 6 with a 30% chance of showers, a low of 4 that night. And we'll have a better idea of that Christmas weekend ahead for you tomorrow, Meg. But so far, it's looking like it won't be a white one.
Now, I understand you have a bit of a punny story for us coming out of Chatham, a Chatham-Kent classic, if you will. Tell us a little more.
Yeah, Meg, so this is the 3rd year of the Vote for the Snowplow names in Chatham-Kent. This has been a massive story every year. This is the 3rd time they're doing it. I mean, it's been on Hockey Night in Canada. It's gone to BC. It's gone to the East Coast. Some past names, Edward Blizzard Hands, Sled Zeppelin, one of my favorites, Control Salt Delete.
Oh,
pretty amazing. So we talked to Mayor Darren Caniff today on Afternoon Drive, and he says this really reflects the community spirit of Chatham-Kent and has put it on the map.
Well, those are some hard names to beat. What could they have possibly come up with this year?
This year was pretty strong, Meg. There were 6 new names chosen this year, and that's compiled from a short list of 25. Here they are. Are you ready? Snowtorious B.I.G., Taylor Drift.
Oh, that's got to be popular.
Austin Plowers, Plow Patrol, Skip the Ditches, and the Big Leplowski. So you can see those names on one of the snowdrifts there in that photo with Mayor Darren Caniff. Pretty amazing. I mean, I'm not that punny myself, but Chatham-Kent, they got it going on.
No, that is a great, great little competition event that they do. I absolutely love that.
And yeah, Meg, tell me about any names off the top of your head? Any puns that come to mind if you were to submit an idea?
Okay, so I used the newsroom a little bit for this one because
yeah, fair enough.
This is tough.
This
is tough. We came up with 2.
Okay, let's hear it.
Blizzard of Oz.
Great.
And this is my favorite, Buzz Ice Clear.
Oh, that's really good.
Chatham-Kent, if
Submit
you are
that
listening.
Next year, Meg.
Yeah. It's a good one, Buzz Ice Clear?
Yeah, that's really good. I got a really good one from our Afternoon Drive host, Colin Butler. And get this, it is Plow Shalt Not Skid.
Oh.
I thought that was pretty clever.
Oh, that's pretty good.
Shout out to Colin Butler for that one.
No, I love that. That is awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that, Josiah. We really appreciate it.
Yeah,
that
thank
is
you,
Josiah Sinanen. He is helping us out with weather. Well, coming up as we take you inside a toy shop that is humming right before the holidays. Stay tuned. The holidays mark the biggest time of year for toy makers. You might be surprised to learn that Toronto is home to a $2 billion toy company. It's connected to some of the biggest brands in the business, from Paw Patrol to Hatchimals. The CBC's Eli Glasner paid a visit to its headquarters.
Welcome to Spin Master. If you don't know the name, you might have heard of their greatest hits. Power! Air Hogs. Ready for battle! Bakugans. And the omnipresent Paw Patrol. Inside the Toronto headquarters, you'll find inventors tinkering, toys getting glamour shots, and kids doing what kids do.
Couple things to look out for.
It might look like playtime, but the stakes are high. These designers and engineers need to know if the latest product is market ready.
Toy development is such a science and art blend. It's crazy because it's you want to create a magical moment, but you also need to make sure that it can be done and that it's safe.
When you're ready to attract a new Bitsy.
This season, there's an early hit.
So we'll open it up.
And what is that?
That's your astronaut dog.
This is Bitsy, created after years of trial and error.
Obviously, we have adult hands, not kid hands. We use adult forces to open and push down on things.
Enter the real experts.
I'm gonna hatch your egg. Okay.
Will these kids play with the water-activated Hatchimals the way the designers intended?
The water turned blue.
One decides the tiny blanket is the best part. The other discovers the egg doesn't open if you put it in upside down. Creating new toys isn't easy, even for Hasbro and Mattel, which rely on classic brands. Harder still for Spin Master, which goes for originals, like their early smash Air Hogs.
Air Hogs brought to you by Spin Master.
It was such a huge risk for us at the time, and it really catapulted us from being this little novelty company to this, to all of a sudden we were a real toy company.
Ben Verdi says the company was forced to innovate when the U.S. toy companies started shutting off distribution channels.
I would say it wasn't a philosophical decision as much as it was a decision of survival. And fortunately, we tapped into the inventor community.
There's all these strange, creative, genius, brilliant people all over the world doing these bizarre little things. We've got mechanisms here.
Rob Schuyler is one of thousands of inventors who pitch companies. His workshop is filled with flashing hedgehogs.
There he goes.
And this. Is that you?
No, but it's a voice actor.
Yeah, he's good.
So an invention can be really simple, or it can be pretty dumb.
But one thing unites them all.
To be an inventor, you're always failing, but failing doesn't have to be a bad thing. Failing is a learning opportunity, right?
And an industry learning opportunity could be looming, with experts forecasting a sluggish holiday season.
Toys are for sure affected by the economy, especially the higher priced toys. But as a general rule, parents will always sacrifice for their kids.
I know, right?
But the long toy timeline waits for no one. So while parents make today's tough choices, Spin Master is already imagining the great toys of 2026.
We OD ours a little bit.
Eli Glasner, CBC News, Toronto.
Well, that's it for CBC Windsor News. Don't forget, for news anytime, you can go to our website at cbc.ca/Windsor. You can also download the CBC News app for stories that matter most to you. And don't forget to watch The National tonight at 9 on CBC News Network, 10 p.m. on the CBC News app, CBC TV, and streaming on CBC Gem and CBC Explore. Thanks so much for tuning in. Looking forward to seeing you back here tomorrow night.